And just check all 3 streams are working. My website working. Alright, Twitch is working. Twitch is always the fastest. My website's working as well. Cool. What about the YouTube? I think YouTube is up and running as well. Just check all 3 streams are way good, way good. Alright. Nice one, guys. Alright, let's get into it. Let's go. Let's go, let's go. So, in this live stream, we're going to be researching the co-main event between Arnold Allen and Sodiq Yusuff. So, a really big part of this fight for me is whether or not Allen's going to be able to keep this fight on the ground, right? We know that Allen likes to use his grappling a lot, and I don't think we've seen tons of takedown defense from Yusuff. So the first place I'm going to start is by looking at the stats and taking a look through the matchups to see how many takedowns Sodiq has been forced to try and defend in each fight. So let's kick things off. So Arnold Allen, 27 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. And he's been out for about a year. Jesus Christ. They matched him up against 2 very difficult stylistic opponents in Emmett and Stevens. So Allen coming in off a 1-year layoff. And I know that he was training at TriStar. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to continue training at TriStar though, because obviously COVID would have made it difficult for him to travel from the UK over to Canada. So probably has done this camp back home, I would imagine. So Yusuff, 27 years old, so the same age, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. So both guys roughly about the same size. And there he is with Faraz Zahabi. But I'd be surprised if he was able to train at TriStar for this fight. Although there is a picture of him at TriStar. But he's put hashtag throwback. So perhaps that's an old picture. I'm only saying that it might be difficult for... But then... it does actually look like he's trained at TriStar. I just know that the UK was on one of the international blacklists for travel with COVID. But there he is with Ayman Zahabi 6 weeks ago. And he's saying that they trained hard together, so... See, he's saying back in the day, a lot of throwback stuff, so it's difficult to know what's present, what's in the past. I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure about where Arnold Allen's training for this one. Kind of difficult to say. What's up, Parlins? What's up, Damon? Good to see you, mate. Alright. As for Yusuff, trains under Lloyd Irvin, right? Is it Team Lloyd Irvin? Yeah. So Lloyd Irvin, obviously long-time MMA coach, but looks like there aren't too many notable UFC fighters at Team Lloyd Irvin. But Irvin always shows up in shape, right? Not Irwin, sorry. Yusuff. Yusuff always shows up in shape. For Yusuff's body type, you know, that compact, muscular, athletic frame, you would think he would be one of these guys that would slow down as the fight wears on. But his gas tank's actually really good. So my big question mark in this fight is Yusuff's takedown defense and ground game. So let's look at the stats. So Philly tried to take him down 3 times, so that's going to be really useful because we're gonna get a good look at Yusuff's takedown defense against Philly. Even though Philly is known predominantly as a striker, Philly's offensive wrestling is actually really good. He's got a great reactive double leg, very well timed, and it'll be interesting to see how Yusuff deals with that. But looks like we're not going to get too much more information on his takedown defense because no one else has tried to take him down in the UFC. And of course, Mike Davis, Suman Mokhtarian, Shayman Moraes, and Gabriel Benitez are all strikers. So that would make sense. But as we see from Allen, we know that he has a tendency to like to grapple, right? Even though the stats show, you know, even though the stats show over his last sort of 3 or 4 fights, hasn't used his grappling as much as he did in the past. We know that a lot of Allen's fights tend to go to the ground. So it'll be interesting to see, see what the chances are that Allen can use grappling in this, if Yusuff's going to be able to keep it standing. So let's get into it. So Bet Skull's thinking over 2.5 rounds. It's tough, right, Hilt? I was thinking about it. I was literally thinking about it at the beginning of this stream, thinking about taking that over. I just worry that Dern's so nasty on the ground, and Ansarov looks so weak off her back. I worry that Dern can do terrible things to her on the ground. You know, we haven't really seen Ansarov put in any bad positions on the ground. Like, we've seen her on her back. We haven't really seen her defending submissions though, right? So it's kind of tough. But anyway, let's get into this next one. We'll kick things off. I think we'll kick things off with Andre Fili against Sodiq Yusuff, just because I feel like in this fight we're probably going to get to learn a decent amount about Yusuff's striking, grappling, takedown defense, the whole works, which will give us a really good base then for seeing if there's any strong positions on this fight. So sync this one up for me, guys. Drop it in there. I'll grab you guys in the US. An ESPN Plus link now. And no, Yarosh. No, dude. Alright, guys. Sync this one up for me. Hilty is saying, Dern's 100% a Damian Maia of the women. If you find yourself on the ground with a couple of minutes to work, you're pretty much fucked. Yeah, true, dude. I think it did speak volumes how Virna Jandiroba has, you know, in every single one of Virna's past fights, she's immediately come out the gate and tried to get her opponents to the ground. Whereas it was quite notable how in the fight between Virna Jandiroba and Mackenzie Dern, Virna treated the ground like lava. I think that speaks volumes for how good Dern is. Even Virna, you know, high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt with that base in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you know, not even Virna wanted anything to do with Dern on the ground, right? So I do think that was quite notable. All right, let's get this first round going. Let's get it going, guys. Starts at 1 minute and 35 seconds. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go. Let's go. What's actually great about this fight is, like I say, Andre Fili's a very good offensive wrestler. One of the things that makes Andre Fili's wrestling so good is that because he is primarily a striker, it's very hard to read the takedown entries coming, he does a really good job of mixing up his reactive double legs with his striking. So it's actually very hard to stuff an Andre Fili takedown. You know, if you're fighting one of the things that makes it hard for Dern to try and take her opponents down is her opponents know she wants to try and take him down, right? Whereas with Fili, you know, he gets you thinking about a kickboxing match and then changes levels, gets in deep on your hips with a takedown attempt. So interested to see how Yusuff's takedown defense holds up here. We're seeing the power in Yusuff's hands already, though. He's made the legs of Fili go wobbly with a right hook to the temple and also a stiff jab here. You can see the power in Yusuff's hands. Obviously, Arnold Allen's got a decent chin, tough as nails. I don't think Allen's ever been knocked out. It's first time for everything. So very good takedown defense there initially from Yusuff. Nice level change from Fili. Yusuff did a good job of getting that underhook on the right side in play early. He's still got that underhook in play on the right side. I notice how Yusuff's just trying to drop down and make it more difficult for Fili to get in deeper on his legs and upset his balance. So Yusuff's takedown defense looking all right there. What is quite impressive from Yusuff is you don't often see these smaller, more compact guys with a jab like Yusuff has got. Just because obviously the smaller, compact body type that Yusuff has got means that you're often not in a range to land that jab unless you cover a lot of distance. But Yusuff is doing a really good job of snapping Fili's head back off that jab. So what I have noticed about Yusuff in these two takedowns that Fili's attempted is that when you shoot in on Yusuff, he does straight away give his back up. So it'll be interesting to see if Allen can capitalise on that when we go and watch a little bit of his wrestling. Kind of difficult to judge Yusuff on that most recent takedown because he was dragged to the ground off that body lock very quickly, and then Fili did have the body lock but kind of just let go of it and let Yusuff stand back up. So that position doesn't tell us a great deal. But I'm very impressed by Yusuff's jab. Beautiful deep double leg there from Fili. So I like what Yusuff's doing. Very, very nice. So now I understand why Yusuff is giving his back up. Yusuff is giving his back up because as he hits the ground, he's trying to push down on the head of his opponent, clear his legs and pop back up. So remember in the last research session where we were talking about, you know, the different ways you could approach being taken down, and we were using Team Alpha Male as a really good example of what you should do. And we were saying, you know, when you hit the ground, what you want to see a fighter do is immediately look to clear their legs before an opponent or before their opponent has an opportunity to establish a dominant position, immediately explode back up to their feet. That's what Yusuff does, which I like a lot. What you don't want to see is what Ansarov does and just enables her opponent to just flatten his shoulders out and establish a dominant position. Look again, straight away, Yusuff gets taken down. Immediately he's thinking about popping back up. So I do like this from Yusuff. Yusuff's takedown defense not great, but that doesn't mean too much to me. You know, I'm not too concerned if a fighter's got bad takedown defense. I'm much more concerned with how effective they are at working their way back up to their feet. And at the moment, Yusuff doing a pretty good job of working his way back up to his feet. Hits a nice reversal off this Kimura. Very good work from Yusuff. So Yusuff's looking decent here, to be fair. Very impressed with his jab. Takedown defense not great, but pretty good at popping back up when he does get taken down. And what I do like is we've seen Yusuff get taken down in the middle of the octagon and up against the cage, and you know wherever Fili's been able to take him down, Yusuff's been able to pop back up, which is a really positive sign for me. It means that he's not one of these fighters that's very vulnerable if he gets taken down in the middle of the cage, but in actual fact, you know, he's pretty hard to hold down wherever you take him down. He's not one of these fighters that needs the cage to be able to wall walk to get back up to his feet. So good stuff from Yusuff in round one. I'm impressed. Well, I would say he's a little bit reckless. We did see him get wobbled by Fili a couple minutes ago. We know he was, you know, very reckless against Gabriel Benitez as well, playing Rock'em Sock'em Robots. But from memory, I don't think Allen's got much power in his hands. I think Allen's much more of a volume striker, right? If we just sync up round two for me, and I'll just fact check that. I do think Allen's a bit of a decisionator. So round 2 starts in 7 minutes and 14 seconds. Yeah, he hasn't knocked anyone out in the UFC. Few submissions, but over the last 5 or 6 years, it's all decision wins or submissions. Hilty Sam, never really thought Allen has met his hype. You know what? I do think Allen's made big improvements in his last few fights, but we'll have to see. Brett is saying, I watched a couple of Allen's fights yesterday and he has pretty poor striker defense, doesn't really move his head much, which could be an issue. How hard Yusuff hits. Yeah, that's good to know. Thanks, Brett. Hilty is saying, I don't know why he has an amazing record in the UFC, but I've always just felt like he has underperformed a bit. Alright, let's get this next one going. MMA locker room is bet Yusuff at -130. Hey, Long Beach in the house. What's up, MMA locker room? Good to see you, dude. I didn't realise that that it was Millsy on Twitch, right? Good to see you, dude. Good to see you, man. Long Beach in the house. You know what's funny? I actually just bought some. Quite embarrassed because I am a geeky little white boy, but I did actually buy some Death Row t-shirts today. It's quite funny. Maybe I'll be brave enough to actually wear them outside one day. I doubt it. But yeah, I did buy some Death Row t-shirts, which is quite funny because I am a geeky, almost 40-year-old white boy. But I did grow up. Listening to that type of music. As crazy as that sounds, I know it's ridiculous, but nice one, MMA locker room, mate. MMA locker room also bringing up a really good point that Allen hasn't really fought that much. So in the last, this was almost 2 years ago, right? She's only really fought twice in the last 18 months to 2 years. That's a really good point. That's a really good point, man. Although I guess with him only being 27 years old, it may mean that he's gonna make big improvements from fight to fight, right? It's tough to say. Maybe he's improved a lot since we saw him against Lentz. I do think he is improving quite quickly. His performances against Melendez and Lentz were quite impressive, but then Brett is saying that his defense is quite bad, so maybe not. Maybe he hasn't looked as bad, you know. What's up, Rash Kavaka, mate? We should just let Raj Kavaka take over when it comes to talking about the striking, though, because I see Raj Kavaka doing a hell of a lot more work when it comes to striking than me on Instagram. Raj Kavaka's always drilling, sparring, practicing striking. I'm just sat on my fat ass talking shit. Raj Kavaka should take over on this one, man. Been enjoying watching Raj Kavaka's striking work on Instagram. Definitely moves a hell of a lot better than my fat ass, I could tell you that much. Aldo saying that if Allen can't get it to the ground, he's probably going to struggle quite bad. It's a good point, Vardis. Vardis just saying that perhaps I think Vardis is saying that perhaps one of the big reasons why Allen's looked really good in his last two is because he's fought, you know, two guys on quite a big decline, particularly Melendez, right? He looked a shadow of himself against Allen. That's a good point, mate. Be interesting to see that, Brett, because I'm really impressed by Yusuff's jab. I didn't realise. Well, it's unusual, right, for a guy that's 5'9" for a featherweight. I mean, it's not crazy small, but it is on the smaller side of the featherweight division. So to see him with a jab this sharp, that he lands as often as he is landing, you know, you've got to consider, right? Philly is one of these guys that likes to fight long and tall. You know, Philly 5'11" with a 74-inch reach compared to Yusuff 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. But Philly does fight long. He's only 2 inches taller, but he knows how to use his length. For Sodiq to have as much success with the jab as he's having, I'm quite impressed. So let's get into this second round. It starts at 7 minutes 47. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You can kind of see it on Philly's face as well, right? He's a little bit banged up just after one round, and I'd imagine that's mostly off Yusuff's jab. So it'll be interesting to see how Allen reacts to that jab. Yusuff is reckless. I would say that's probably Yusuff's biggest weapon. One of Yusuff's biggest weaknesses. He is quite reckless. He loves to bait his opponents into those crazy exchanges. But at the same time, he has shown a decent chin and also an ability to recover really quickly when he does get hurt. So, Allen's never knocked anyone out in the UFC. It would be a little bit unlikely if he were to KO Yusuff, right? Double Leg is saying one thing to note is Philly had a reach advantage on Yusuff. Yeah, good point. So what Double Leg's doing a much better job of summarising what I was trying to say. Double Leg just saying that, Yusuff had a decent amount of success snapping Philly's head back with a jab, and Philly had the reach advantage here, and also Philly fights long and knows how to use his length, whereas against Allen, Yusuff will have a tiny reach advantage. So, if Yusuff had a lot of success with the jab against Philly, likely he could have quite a bit of success with the jab against Allen, especially with what Brett is saying about Allen's boxing defense not being the best, right? Have you bet this fight, Brett? From memory, I'm pretty sure Allen's also one of these guys that's quite heavy from top position but quite weak off his back. Yusuff's top game not looking the heaviest here. He is giving Philly a lot of space on the bottom. I just think Philly's a little bit too tired to pop back up to his feet right now. But Yusuff is, he is one of these guys. Yusuff is one of these guys that, may be able to hold Allen down if he gets in the top position. I do remember like the Makwan Amirkhani fight, the Mads Burnell fight, even flashes of the was it Jason Knight, or am I going crazy? It wasn't Jason Knight, right? It was the Amirkhani fight for sure, the Burnell fight for sure. Just flashes of those fights where Allen did look quite weak off his back. Like I say, Yusuff doing a reasonably good job of holding Philly down, but I will say that there is quite a lot of space for Philly to move around on the bottom, which means if Philly really did commit hard to popping back up to his feet, he could probably get back up quite easily, and I'm guessing sometime in the next 1 minute 45 he will. Whenever you see a lot of space between the person on the bottom and the person on the top, that just gives the person on the bottom room to scramble. Like Philly could get to his knees here and look to stand back up if he wanted to, or he could slide his back over to the cage and start the wall work. He's chosen not to. Yusuff gave Philly big opportunities to pop back up to his feet there, and he didn't take them. So this position, even though Yusuff has mounted Philly now, this does say more about what Philly is doing wrong as opposed to what Yusuff is doing right. At this point, similar to what we were saying with Ansarov in the last matchup, Philly is definitely accepting being on the bottom. And look, we see it there, right? As soon as Philly actually committed to popping back up to his feet by kicking off the cage, he was able to. So Yusuff was able to rack up a lot of top control there, predominantly because Philly just accepted being on his back. But Philly hits a nice double leg, and straight away you see Yusuff do a really good job of clearing his legs out from underneath Philly and just standing back up. I do like how Yusuff just doesn't accept being on the bottom. Very hard to establish a dominant position on someone like Yusuff because at the very fraction of a second that you're going to be trying to establish a dominant position, they're going to be trying to clear their legs and pop back up. So to hold a guy like, or to establish a dominant position on a guy like Yusuff, you've got to think very fast. I'm not sure Allen is that type of grappler, you know. Brett is thinking about a bet on Yusuff. I do like what I see from Yusuff so far, for sure. So let's get this third round synced up. So round 3 starts in 13 minutes and 58 seconds. 13 minutes 58. Rogue Strummers saying that Yusuff's got an amazing chin, he's tough as hell. I think you're right, man. I think you're right, dude. And Bout Better is saying that Yusuff's trained his ground game under some kind of Gracie system. Cheers, dude. Definitely looks quite comfortable on the ground, right? Despite being predominantly a grappler, predominantly a striker. Alright, let's get this next one going. Sync it up. Get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go. Let's go. So, quite impressed with Yusuff's... Like I say, Yusuff's takedown defense hasn't looked good. Pretty much... Well, almost every single attempt to get the fight to the ground that Philly has shot in with, he's been able to. I think Yusuff stuffed 1 takedown in round 1. However, Yusuff has been able to quickly work his way back up to his feet every time he has been taken down. And from memory, don't think Allen's got the best top control. And we think about Yusuff as being one of these big, explosive power punchers, but I think his best weapon here has been his jab. Very fast jab. Looking forward to seeing some of Arnold's striking now. So it's very clear what Yusuff is trying to do, right? Yusuff is basically moving through one of 2 modes. He's trying to use the speed in his jab to beat Philly to the punch, or he's waiting for Philly to throw that power left hand, and then he's looking to use head movement to slip it and fire back with his own power right hand. What's really interesting about Yusuff is I haven't really seen him lead with his power right hand very much in this fight. He kind of baits his opponent into attacking him with that jab, and then when they attack him, that's when he lets that power right hand go. So Yusuff is one of those guys that tries to bait his opponent into going first, so that he can try and counter them. And the 2 ways that he tries to bait them to do that is 1, off the jab in kickboxing range, and 2, like we saw from him in round 1, and like we saw from him against Gabriel Benitez, where he comes forward with a lot of pressure and he forces his opponent to open up to try and alleviate that pressure. That's when he looks to counter with the right hand. And you see it here, right? When Philly lets that, well, he's southpaw now. When Philly lets that power left hand go, notice how every single time Yusuff immediately fires back with a big right. Just keep an eye on it. Watch. Watch Philly's power hand and then watch Yusuff's reactions. You notice every time that power left hand goes, Yusuff's looking to counter. But he's not having as much success now because Philly switched to southpaw. Yusuff was doing a lot better when Philly was orthodox. Now Philly has switched to southpaw. He's starting to beat Yusuff to the punch. That's probably not a case of Yusuff struggling more against southpaws. It's just probably thrown Philly off a bit. It's probably thrown Yusuff off a bit, right? Yusuff probably found his range found his range, got his rhythm against Philly as an orthodox stance fighter, and now the Philly switch stances, it's just thrown him off a little bit, which is why you're seeing Philly have more success in this second half of round 3. But you still see the same pattern. Yusuff is looking to just counter off the power hand of Philly, whether it be the left or the right, depending on what stance he's fighting from. See there again, Philly lets the left hand go straight away, Yusuff with the right. So it will be quite notable. It will be important now when we go look at Arnold Allen to look at his boxing defense specifically after he throws. Because it's quite clear that even when Yusuff is pressuring his opponent, the pressure is to bait them into going first so he can look to use his head movement and speed to punish them for attacking him. And one of the big ways he does that is he throws the jab to bait them into opening up. What I do really like about Yusuff's style, though, is every time Philly has thrown a power left or power right at him, he's immediately fired back, which is really useful for deterring your opponent from attacking you. Because obviously Yusuff is a really powerful guy, right? Hits hard, very dangerous. With Yusuff's style, you know that every time you attack him with a power strike, he's going to be firing back. So quite often what you can see when guys go up against the style that Yusuff's got is they're reluctant to open up and let their hands go because they're worried about what's coming back. You know, if you think about it, if you're Allen and you haven't got the best boxing defense and you're fighting someone like Yusuff, and you know every time you let your power right, or is he a South Orthodox or Southpaw? Allen's, I don't know what Allen is. We'll soon find out. But it should tell us here. Okay, so Allen's a Southpaw. So Allen knows whenever I throw this power left hand, I've got a nuclear missile of a right coming back at me. And so if a guy like Allen isn't the most confident boxer or doesn't have the best boxing defense, that dynamic can put someone like Allen into a defensive shell because he knows if I try and hurt this guy with a big power left, I've got something big coming back in my direction which I might not be able to see coming, might not be able to get out of the way of. So it can put guys like Allen in a defensive shell and, you know, make them reluctant to open up. In a similar way that we saw, you know, low volume from Nina Ansarov in that third round against Suarez, right? She was so worried about being taken down by Suarez, it completely shut down her ability to open up and let her hands go. But we did also see, I feel, Yusuff slow down a bit in that third round, which is a bit of a concern because we do know Allen's got a great gas tank. So sync up round 1 for me. For the next fight, we're going to watch Allen against Nick Lentz. Alright, let's get this going, guys. I grab a ESPN Plus link for everybody in the United States. So sync up this first round for me, guys. Looking forward to seeing Arnold Allen's boxing defense here because I do like how Yusuff's style looks to counter. Because Yusuff is so fast, his speed makes him really difficult to deal with that counter-striking style, right? So Brett is saying the Team Irvin's a predominantly grappling-based gym, which is good news because Allen has shown some big holes on the ground, right? Particularly against Mads Bennell, particularly against Makwan Amirkhani, although those fights were a while ago. Rostar is saying Yusuff put on 15.9% weigh-in at 145 pounds. Fight night 169.2, 16.7 on another fight in California. This is when they were recording it in California. So Vardis is also saying that Allen's got bad striking defense, which is super interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing this now. So Rostar's saying that it's a brutal weight cut for Yusuff. Which is probably why he slowed down in that third round, right? Alright. Let's get this next one going. Let's go, guys. Let's go. Sync it up. Get it going. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. What's interesting about that Rostar is 5'9". Yusuff's not that big, right? And you know what? I've never really seen Yusuff look bad at the weigh-ins either. I never really thought it would be a difficult cut for Yusuff. Like when you look at the other names on this list, right? Paulo Costa, huge, completely get it. Kun Ho Kang is a bit of a surprise because he's not that big. Oh wait, that makes sense. Kun Ho Kang used to fight at bantamweight, which is why it didn't make any sense that he was on this list because he's not that big of a guy. But I've just noticed that his fight on this card was at flyweight, which would make sense. So yeah, Kung Hyo Kan, huge for a flyweight. Brandon Davis makes sense. You know, he fought at featherweight and then dropped down to bantamweight and looked like a skeleton. Manny Bermudez has a bit of a history of missing weight, right? So I get all the other names. You know, Sabina Mazo, absolutely huge for the division. She's like one of the... Isn't she like 5'10", 5'11", something like that? She's huge anyway, massive reach. So I get all those names, but Sodiq Yusuff doesn't really fit in there, which is interesting because he's got one of the biggest cuts as well at 16.7%. I wouldn't have put Yusuff on that list. It's crazy. The others though, definitely all abnormally tall for the division. So, be interested to see Allen's boxing defense here, just because Nick Lentz obviously isn't the best boxer, right? Yusuff, hell of a lot more technical and much faster than Lentz. Yeah, I kind of, you see a little bit there, right? Allen walks right onto a stiff jab from Lentz. Definitely, it actually got Allen's attention as well. See, he acknowledged they landed clean and hard from Lentz. But we want to see more of Allen's boxing defense. I do think that the speed of Yusuff's going to be quite tricky to deal with. So Brett is right in that Allen's defense not looking great early, which is a bit of an issue because obviously Yusuff's a hell of a lot faster than Lentz. So I am very, very early on in this first 3 minutes understanding the love for Yusuff here. I am starting to see it. But we need to see more, right? But that Philly fight gave us a really good look at, you know, what Yusuff does well, what holes he may have that Allen could potentially exploit. So what is interesting here is I know that when Philly switched to southpaw, Yusuff struggled. However, what is quite interesting is Allen is fighting with his left hand quite low. And with Yusuff being... Let me know what you think about this Rostar, right? Rostar's a Muay Thai coach, owns his own Muay Thai gym. So Rostar will know a hell of a lot more about this than me. Rostar, am I right in saying that even though Yusuff struggled a little bit, against Philly when Philly went southpaw, because Arnold Allen is carrying that left hand really low, Yusuff from that orthodox stance has got a really good chance of beating him to the punch with that power right hand when they come together. I'm just thinking that with how low Allen is carrying that left hand, when Yusuff does look to counter him with that power right, it's going to be much easier for Yusuff to land that right hand than it would be against someone fighting out the orthodox stance. Just by how low Allen's keeping that left hand, he's going to be wide open to Yusuff's power right hand, right? Allen is looking quite sloppy here in these exchanges. Allen is looking quite sloppy here. That's the end of the round. He's looking very sloppy in these exchanges. With how fast Yusuff is, do think he can give Allen some trouble. So sync up round 2 for me now, which starts at 7 minutes and 30 seconds. 7 minutes 30. MMA Locker Room is saying Yusuff's way more explosive and has been working on his wrestling with his camp. I am definitely leaning him here. Nice one, Ro, mate. Nice one, mate. It would be... I wouldn't bother watching now, dude, just because if you didn't... I guess if you didn't watch the Yusuff footage, it wouldn't make much sense what we're saying now about Allen. But he is wide open to the right hand, mate. It's just Lentz doesn't look like he's got a right hand, whereas Yusuff, he's got an absolute nuclear fucking bomb in that right hand. So let's get this second round going. Sync it up. Get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go, let's go. So I am starting to like Yusuff here. I didn't realise Allen was this bad defensively. I thought he was a guy that was quite light on his feet. A little bit like a mini Rory, right? A little bit like a mini Rory McDonald. But when these two guys have got into exchanges, Lentz has been able to land clean and hard on Allen in almost every exchange. Almost every time Lentz lets that right hand go, he lands it. Keep an eye on it. This is Nick Lentz we're talking about as well. You notice there? Every time Lentz lets that right hand go from orthodox, he catches Arnold Allen with it. So he lands it behind the ear. Again, walks onto a big clean left hand. Got the better of that exchange and wobbled Lentz, but Lentz is landing. And you got to remember that Lentz is catching Arnold Allen flat and cold. And remember the speed of Yusuff's jab against Andre Philly. How he was able to snap Philly's head back. How much distance he was able to cover. And remember what... Who said it in the chat? I can't remember who it was. It was Double Leg. Remember Double Leg when he said that, you know, Yusuff was able to snap the head back of Philly despite the fact that Philly fought long, knew how to use his length and had the reach advantage. You know, Allen is not fighting long here. So I do think this is actually looking like Yusuff's a pretty good bet. So shout out to everyone that's already bet Yusuff. I know Brett was thinking about it. I know MMA Locker Room's already bet him. I can see why, boys, for sure. Yusuff's looking really good here. Let me know what you think, guys. Let me know what you think. But I'm not seeing Allen do much, which I think could cause Yusuff that much of a problem. Allen's way too willing to exchange. But he isn't particularly good at getting out of the way. Gets caught cold a lot. And when he gets caught cold, you see him acknowledging it. He keeps giving Lentz a little bit of a nod, like, you got me there, mate. But obviously you can't take clean, hard shots from a guy like Yusuff. He's going to inflict big damage off that jab, and he can knock you out with the power right hand. You know, you see Lentz is wearing a lot of damage. And that is off the jab of Allen. But remember what Yusuff likes to do, right? Yusuff's got a much faster jab than Allen. And what Yusuff likes to do is wait for you to go first, then slip your jab and fire back with a big counter. So I don't think Allen's going to have anywhere near as much success against Yusuff as he has here against Lentz. There are definitely holes here that Yusuff can exploit that Lentz wasn't able to. Like even there, Arnold throws a jab, Lentz ducks under it, comes forward and both guys tie up. But in that exchange, Allen's just caught flat-footed with his head down, wide open to a big counter. And we saw even in round 3 of the Yusuff versus Philly fight, even when Yusuff started to slow down, he still had a lot of speed in his hands, was still able to counter effectively. So it's not like Yusuff isn't capable of striking effectively, you know, late on in a fight. I do quite like Yusuff here. You see again, Lentz stings Allen on the chin there with a stiff right hand. Allen just doesn't quite see the shots coming. I can kind of see what Hiltzy means now. Earlier on when Hiltzy said Allen hasn't quite lived up to expectations. I know he's inflicting a lot of damage on Lentz here and he's winning the fight. But I do kind of get a little bit of what Hiltzy's saying. Allen looking a little bit sloppy here. Aldo is saying, I want to bet Allen. Filming around me saying Allen is going to win. What's up, Fion? Hey, Fion. Fion is saying Allen gets too eager and when he lunges in, his defense goes out the window. Yusuff will definitely catch him. Well said, Fion. You said that in a much more concise way than I could. I'm rambling on with long-winded explanations, but it's spot on, Fion. I think you nailed it. So let's get this next round going, round 3, which starts at 13 minutes and 40 seconds. 13 minutes and 40 seconds. Let's get it going. 13 minutes and 40 seconds. 13 minutes and 40 seconds. I bet with a goat. He's saying, also, are you investing in Ripple? No, mate. No disrespect to Ripple or crypto or anything like that. But for me personally, I just don't see. I don't really see. I don't really understand why people would invest in Ripple. If I'm being brutally honest, only because like Ripple isn't going to change the world. You know what I mean? Ripple's been around for 10 years. They've had these big promises about how they're going to change traditional banking, how they're going to make international banking payments cheaper, easier, faster, and they haven't really delivered anything in 10 years. You know, if I just go to this page on my website, Team MMA BT, you know, you scroll down, you've got all these industries, all these businesses in these industries, which we know are going to change the world, right? Over the next 20 years, AI and robotics are going to change the way, you know, we do everything. How long before, instead of having an Alexa in a tablet or a speaker that, you know, you ask her what the weather's like, you ask her to put stuff on your shopping list, how long before Alexa looks like this and she's walking around your house, feeding your dog and, you know, cutting your grass and cleaning your windows and hoovering the carpet? How long until Alexa looks like that? AI and robotics are huge. 3D printing. How long before we replace the shanty towns in places like Africa and India, you know, with 3D printed houses? How long before, we 3D print custom organs to match people's genetics, and change the transplant world forever. They're 3D printing a heart to go in someone's body here. Obviously, is the future, but how long before you can use genomic sequencing to 3D print new organs for people? You know what I mean? Cannabis industry. It's going to be huge. Every year, new countries, new territories legalize it. Biotech, electric vehicles, medicinal mushrooms, hydrogen energy, genomics, space, tech, video games, VR, renewable energy. I just think, why would you ever want to invest in something like Ripple when we know that these businesses, not all of them, but a good number of these businesses are going to change the world forever? I would much rather own $1,000 worth of Proto Labs or Tencent or any of these. I'd rather own $1,000 of any of the businesses on this page than $1,000 of Ripple, just because I think people just see the gains with altcoins, right? They think Ripple's done 100x, probably more, since it was created, particularly when he was up at his highs of like $1.20, $1.30, right? But from my perspective, why would you ever buy an altcoin which basically has no value at all, when you could literally spend the money on businesses like these that will change the world? Like, it is undeniable, beyond any fucking doubt, that there is a good percentage of companies on this list that will change the world. There's no doubt. They are on this page. You will get 10x, 20x, 50x, 100x companies on this page. There's 100x companies on this page. They can go 100x. There's companies on here that will change the world. Altcoins, how many altcoins are going to change the world? Can Ripple have as big of an impact on the world as the first company to dominate the solar energy market? It's not comparable, right? We know that fossil fuels are going to, basically run out by 2055, which is only, just over 35 years' time. Whoever wins that renewable energy race, we need renewable energy for the human race to survive, right? We can't rely on fossil fuels for longer than the next 30, 40 years. So I'd much rather bet on renewable energy companies than altcoins. Nothing against anyone into crypto or altcoins or anything. I don't want to disrespect anyone's opinion, but I just think we're in a golden age where I think, like, for the first time since the stock market existed, we're in a situation where there are certain industries which have to succeed for the survival of the human race. Like, the stock market has never been at those stakes before. For example, we can't keep putting petrol, gasoline into combustion vehicle engines, because fossil fuels aren't going to last forever. You know what I mean? You can't keep relying on coal, gas. You look at, like, space, right? You can't rely on Earth forever. Earth's resources will eventually be depleted. There's so many things where I just think you're in such a golden age now, where you've only ever got a limited amount of money that you can use to invest in stuff. Why would you not invest in a company like Tencent that are on the very edges of robotics, or I don't know, man. I don't know. I just think that I would much rather invest in these companies than altcoins. But that's just me, man. That's just me. That is just me. Brett is saying Arnold dips his head a lot for no reason as well in round 3 against Melendez. Frasahabi tells him to stop doing it. Nice one, Brett, mate. It'll be interesting to see how his striking defense looked against Melendez. Although we may skip that one and watch one of his other fights. Although, not sure. I'm not sure. We'll make a decision on it in a bit. Vardis is saying, I appreciate MMA math doesn't work, but Allen would have had a bad time against Philly's jab and cross. Great point, Vardis, mate. I think you're right, mate. I think Philly would give Allen hell. That is a really, really good point. Where we're kind of struggling to work out whether Yusuff's worth a bet. When you put it like that, it makes so much sense, right? It makes a lot of sense, dude. You know, if we think about it, we're trying to work out who's going to win between Yusuff and Allen, but then if I visualize in my head what Philly versus Allen would look like, I think Philly causes him big trouble. Taz, Chris, what is the name of the company? 10 cents. Is this the name of the company, mate? Their ticker is 700. I think they're on the Tokyo or Hong Kong Stock Exchange. They're a Japanese company, and they're a venture capital firm that just buys. They just buy promising businesses. So I'm pretty sure they own Epic Games, who are the creators of Gears of War, Fortnite. I'm pretty sure they own Epic Games. They own Boston Dynamics. It's like a leading robotics company. Who owns Epic Games? I'm pretty sure they own Epic Games. Yeah, Tencent own 48.4% of Epic Games. So the thing about Epic Games is they're a massive leader in the video game industry, because not only have they consistently over time produced incredible video games like Fortnite, Gears of War, Unreal Tournament, but they also are the creators of the Unreal Engine, which a lot of AAA video games are built on, right? So they actually build the platform, the Unreal Engine. So, if you're bullish on the future of video games, Epic Games is like cream of the crop, right? They're the fucking, Kansas City Chiefs, the Manchester City, the fucking, John Jones of video games, right? You want to invest in the future of video games. Epic Games are a great company to invest in, and Tencent own half of them. They also own loads of other cool companies. Tencent, man, don't buy Ripple, man. Don't buy Ripple. Just buy Tencent. What I would say, I don't want to go off on too big of a tangent here, because most people are here for MMA. I understand that the market cap for Tencent is absolutely huge, so there's probably not as much growth potential in a company like Tencent as there is in a project like Ripple, right? But on this list, there are plenty of other companies that can change the world with much, much, much smaller market capitalizations. And what I would say is, what is the market cap of Tencent? What is the market cap of Tencent? It's huge. I know it's massive. I know their market cap is very big. Market cap 818 billion. Not sure if that's in dollars. Not sure what currency that is. I'm assuming it's currency in US dollars. Yeah, so their market cap is 818 billion, which obviously makes them one of the biggest companies in the world. However, what I would say is, even though their market cap is absolutely huge, there might not be as much growth potential in them as something like Ripple. If they bring one of these to mass market, and it can take your dog for a walk, it can cut your grass, it can perform maintenance on your house, it can look after your children, it acts as security, it can go shopping for you, maybe it can drive your car for you. If they that's all coming in the next 10, 20 years, right? Everything I've just spoken about sounds crazy, but we know it won't be long before these are walking your dog, picking your kids up from school. Do you know what I mean? They can be, you can fucking purchase you could purchase like an upgrade for them, where they come with like a personal trainer upgrade, where they become your personal trainer. You could download the fucking striking coach upgrade, and they can be a striking coach and be a better fucking striking coach than Faraz Sahabi. We know all this is coming in the next 10 to 20 years. So why the fuck would you want to invest money in a dumpster fire like Ripple when you can invest in companies like this? It doesn't make any sense to me at all. We know all this stuff is coming, and you know what they say on Wall Street, right? Just buy the future. Just buy the future. That's what they say, right? Just buy the future, right, man? All you need to do. Mark Chain is asking, how do I access that list of companies? There you go, mate. Just click that link, and just scroll down to the bottom. We've got a forum. We got a forum on there where a lot of the guys, JB, Moons, Gucci, they share their bets on there for different sports. Dale posts some surfing stuff. Paul shares some boxing bets in there. And then below that, you've got a list of all the stocks with all the tickers. Obviously, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a noob that talks shit about cage fighting on the internet. But I do believe that if you put a little bit of money into every business on this page, you would hit a few home runs. You know? For various different reasons. Yeah, it's crazy, right, Taz? You know, I will say one word of caution with, God, I need to get back on the MMA. I'm really, really sorry for you guys that are just here for MMA and I'm boring you all. I do somewhat agree with what Cathie Wood says, though, where she says her philosophy is that's the way she describes it. Winner takes most, right? That's the way she describes it, right? Yeah. Okay. I will just say this. I will say this. I do agree with what Cathie Wood is saying. I can't find the exact quote. If you go on YouTube and search for Cathie Wood winner takes most, you can actually hear her in interviews talking about this. She did a podcast recently with Kevin O'Leary, which was really, really interesting, where she talks about this. I think it is very notable that on this page, there's loads of different companies, right? For most sectors. So, for example, loads of cannabis companies, loads of biotech companies, loads of electric vehicle companies, loads of genomics companies, etc., etc. We know that these industries are essential for the human race to survive. We know they're going to be absolutely huge. There's no doubt. But Cathie Wood is saying that even though these industries are going to experience tremendous growth over the next 20 years, she believes that they will be winner takes most markets. So what she means by that is, if you look at, say, the mobile phone, right? Mobile phone. That's a winner takes most market, where if you look at the market share, Apple has a giant market share of, the mobile phone market, right? And then all the other designers of mobile phones, there is some bigger than others. Obviously, Samsung's going to be up there, but for the most part, it's winner take most. You've got Apple, and then everyone else. Is this, if you think about like the fast food industry, right? It's Burger King, it's McDonald's. You know what I mean? You're not going to have like 10, 15 massive companies in that industry. You look at like, you look at like processors, right? You've got Intel and AMD. You look at graphics cards, you've got Nvidia and nobody really, right? These are winner take most markets. So I do think that, what Cathie Wood said is a great point. Even though a lot of these companies will probably experience tremendous growth, over the long term, the majority of them will die. And in these industries, you will have a couple of lead bulls which just kill the game. You know what I mean? Like over the next however many years, all of these electric vehicle companies will probably experience a lot of growth based on the hype and the potential of electric vehicles changing the world. But then over time, many of them will die out, and you'll have the lead bull like a Neo or a Tesla or an Xpeng. They will just establish themselves as the market leaders, and everything else will die out. So that's an interesting concept, man. But obviously, if you're active in managing your investments, you know what I mean? If you're really passionate about this stuff, if you stay all over this shit, if you check it all the time like I do, if you obsess over this shit like I do, you'll be really in tune with the markets you're investing in, and you'll know when when a company is starting to lose momentum. And it also helps, it is pretty obvious when you look at all these different sectors who the lead bulls are, right? You look at cannabis, quite clear that anyone with a brain that Afria and innovative industrial properties are like the lead bulls in cannabis. You know what I mean? You look at electric vehicles, it's quite obvious the Neo and Tesla are the lead bulls. You look at, genomics, CRISPR, the lead bull. Renewable energy, Enphase, the lead bull, right? If you're very aware of who the lead bulls are, where all the hype is, it's less likely you get, left holding the bag, right? And I guess this is why I just find altcoins worthless, just because at the end of the day, they're so tied to Bitcoin. Whatever Bitcoin does, alts react to it. So just fucking buy Bitcoin if you want to be involved in crypto, I know the market cap of Bitcoin is so much bigger and you won't experience as much growth. But if you're looking to make money from growth, fucking invest in like 3D printing companies that can print fucking organs and houses for people. You know what I'm saying? Not magical tokens that don't do anything. That's what I would look at anyway, man. That is the way I would look at it, Anyway. Reldo is saying, I'm heavily looking into China for long-term investments. I'm a Baba shareholder, but I'm also looking into Tencent and Baidu. All seem reasonably valued. Yeah, for sure, man. That's a great point, Reldo. What I really like about the Chinese stock market is that it hasn't had anywhere near as much growth as the US stock market because it's not as old. So what I like is these emerging market ETFs. I don't know if you're familiar with them, dude. You probably are. But emerging market ETFs like CHIQ is one of them. CQQQ, which is an index fund for all the Chinese tech companies. In fact, that daily chart. Well, okay, so CQQ is looking strong as fuck right now, actually. I think I need to buy that myself tomorrow. But then you've got EEM, FXI. I think IEMG is another one. These emerging market ETFs are really good because the problem with individual Chinese stocks, like we've seen with Alibaba, right, with the whole issue where their CEO went missing. The problem with Chinese stocks is the Chinese government is so involved in business and the economy that, the Chinese government can just bury Chinese companies overnight. What I really like about the Chinese index funds is even if something, really dodgy happens, like the Alibaba, CEO issue, if you're into these index funds, the corruption and dodgy aspect of the Chinese government can have so much of an impact on your gains. Just because obviously you're buying, a big chunk of the Chinese stock market when you get one of those emerging market ETFs as opposed to just one, where the Chinese government could do something crazy and fuck you up. Ripple, Taz just saying Ripple just went up 100% in the last 48 hours. Yeah, it's just like I said, I've traded altcoins and stuff a lot in the past. It's just different people, right? Different perspectives. I would much rather buy $1,000 worth of, a biotech company that's trying to use genomic sequencing to cure blindness in newborn babies than, Ripple, which does what exactly? You know what I mean? That's just my perspective, just personally, that's just me. But I understand everybody is different, and I appreciate people that are into Ripple and stuff. It's just not for me. Matern is saying anything interesting in research. Yeah, I do think Yusuff is going to be a good bet here, mate. JB, no mate, no, I haven't seen that question from Mac. Did he post it in here or was it in the VIP chat? Raldo is saying, are you a long-term holder of index funds or just trade them? I don't really hold anything super long term, dude. I just like move in and out of stuff when they're in uptrends, and then come out of stuff when they're in weekly consolidation or downtrends. But no, I don't hold those index funds long term, but they are on my radar to regularly trade them. Nice one, JB. Where was it posted, JB? Let me know, dude. Let me know, mate. Godzilla, mate. Here are the pre-fight bets, mate. I'll link you now, dude. There's the pre-fight bets, and here are the lab bets. Cheers, JB. Is Mac watching now? See, I was just a little confused because the lab shows over unders, even money, and main event picks, but then when selecting the pre-fight betting tip section, shows loose and right bets. So it just seemed that those two types weren't in the lab anymore, like the other three. I'm on mobile though, so I may not be getting the whole picture at once like I would on a laptop. So basically, dude, the way it's gonna work, I'll make a video on this and put it out on YouTube, but the way it's gonna work is the whole point of the lab in the first place was obviously to try out different styles of betting, run different experiments so that we could see what type of bets were profitable, right? So with the loose lab bets, because we've got over a year's worth of profitable results from now, and you know, a really good sample size of over 200 bets, I've moved the loose bets over to the betting tips page. When the other type of lab bets build up a decent enough sample size that we can trust them, we can trust that, you know what, there's a good enough amount of data here that they're probably not going to, you know, end up producing a loss or blowing up in our face, then I'll move those over too. At the moment, the other lab bets have got two. At the moment, the over under lab bets, the even money lab bets, the main event picks, the sample size is too small. Even money bets is on about 165 bets, something like that. So that is at the point where if it continues to be profitable, we'll move that over to the betting tips page. Over under bets only has a sample size of 35 bets so far. So even though we're up about 20 units on them in the last year, you know, it's going to be a while before I'll feel comfortable moving them over. So yeah, basically, mate, just reorganized 2 pages now. You got the betting tips on this page. You know, betting tips on this page, lab bets on this page, and when the lab bets get to a point where we're pretty confident they're going to produce a long-term profit due to a decent sample size over a decent period of time, we'll move them over. And like I say, by the summer, I'd imagine that even money bets will move over to this page as well, because I think even money bets, if we look at even money bets, they've got a sample size of 164. So, you know, we're up 20 units in the last year on these even money bets, which, with it being a level stakes experiment, that means essentially we've got 20 bets ahead of the bookie. So, you know, it's unlikely that this experiment goes bad from here, I think. So once we've got a sample size of over 200, I'll move this section over to betting tips and it'll appear on here. I hope that makes sense. Hope that makes sense. Does that answer your question? I'm pretty sure, right? I think I answered your question. I'm pretty sure I answered it, dude. Yeah, all that's come in return, man. So, see here, that I'll write that all in. I just haven't had time yet, man. I will get to it, boys. It's just been busy. I know it's a lot of change. I was planning on having all this shit written up and putting a YouTube video out explaining everything to everyone. I just haven't had time, man. It's been busy, really busy. I know there was no UFC last week, but it wasn't a week off for me. I was still doing tons of work. So it is coming. It'll all be coming. It's going to take a bit of time. And like I say, I know another problem this week is that I've got to restructure the way prop bets are done. Prop bets are going to be a mess this week, guys. I'm really sorry. There's just not enough time to get all the shit done that I need to get done. But I will I will do it all as soon as possible, I promise. So yeah, we'll explain everything as soon as possible. And I know what will happen. Within that time, I'll end up having to answer the same question about 1,000 times on live stream. But it's tough, man. Uncle Dana blessing us with the blessing us with a lot of events, right? It's all good though. It's all good. Double leg, man. I'll talk to you a bit about it in the VIP chat later on, dude, if that's alright. Or I'll just put a breakdown video out for it probably tomorrow. And I will post the fight research session later on. Nice one, Hiltz. Nice one, Hiltz. Thanks, Hiltz. Thanks a lot, dude. Yeah, it's busy, boys. Lots of change, but all this change means come the summer when we're getting a lot of UFC events, you know what I mean? International Fight Week, where we get 3 events in 1 week, it'll just mean we can get content out much faster. Everything will be better, I promise. Everything will be a lot better. Yeah, Ross saying, I totally disagree about Ripple. Ripple has hundreds of banks and also the Flare network and MoneyGram being set up to use them. It's 1,500 transactions per second and can function with smart contracts and more with RippleNet. XRP is the best coin. Like I say, man, I don't want to... everyone's got their own opinion. All I will say about Ripple is the exact thing you've just said to me is the exact thing people were saying 6 years ago. And Ripple has still achieved nothing. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where big promises, but nothing ever gets delivered. Meanwhile, Elon is smashing fucking sales targets. Do you know what I mean? Portnoy is trying to take over the United States with with Penn Sports. You've got CRISPR, curing blindness in newborn babies. I know what I'd rather invest my money in. That's all I'm saying. Less talk, more action. XRP talks a lot, not a lot of action. And really speaking, what is the point of XRP? Ripple is a technology promising, but why do you need the token? You don't, right? XRP as a technology doesn't need the token. Everything is good about Ripple. You don't need XR. You don't need the Ripple token, right? You don't need XRP as a token for Ripple's technology to work. So why the fuck would you buy Ripple? Doesn't make much sense to me. But I could be wrong. I don't want to piss the Ripple crew off. I know they're passionate. What's up, Nick Rodriguez, mate? No, I disagree with you, Nick. Quite strongly, actually, mate. I disagree with you. Nick Rodriguez is saying more like 50 years. Strongly disagree with you there, dude. Because of... boys, I'm very sorry for anyone that came here for MMA content. We're getting sidetracked. So be the last... I'll say my last thing. What is... I strongly disagree with what Nick Rodriguez is saying, though. What is the name of the theory? Is it Moore's Law? It's not Moore's Law, right? No, it is. Actually, I think it is. Yes, Moore's Law. Right. Moore's Law. Nick, I think you are wrong. And I don't often say this, but I think you are wrong on a massive scale. And I really am passionate about this. When you say we won't see many of these things for 50 years, I think you are wrong. On a very, 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 very insane scale because of Moore's Law. Moore's Law's theory being that technology advances exponentially because as new technology is developed, it opens up the possibility for other types of technology to grow way, way, way faster. So examples would be, if you can... if we think about space travel, right, and this is an extreme example, right, I would think, I would agree with you, maybe space travel will be 50 years or whatever, colonizing other planets. But once you come up with the technology to colonize one planet in Mars, it then becomes much easier to colonize other planets. So it might take you 200 years to colonize Mars, But once you've colonized that first planet that took 200 years, it might only take you 10, 20 years to colonize another one. Then once you've done 2, it might only take 5 to colonize the third, and so on and so forth. You see that exponential growth curve. So with so many of these industries looking to change the world, it's like you think about, you think about medical conditions, right? You think about all the horrible diseases, the chronic diseases that kill us slowly, like rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes, ankylosing spondylitis, lupus. They're very, very closely connected in the way they work to cancers, and all cancers are the same, right? These nasty diseases that either kill us quickly, like cancer, or over a long period of time, like autoimmune disease. They all work from genetic breakdown, right? Genes, just genetic dysfunction in genes. So if a company like CRISPR goes out and finds the solution to rheumatoid arthritis and cures rheumatoid arthritis in the next 10 years, you then see exponential growth in all these other areas of biotech where you cure cancer, every type of cancer. You cure ankylosing spondylitis, diabetes, lupus, because once you crack the code on one thing, you see that technological growth in all other things. So when you say 50 years, hell to the fucking no, my man. Hell to the fucking no. If you think about all these huge breakthroughs you see in technology and then how fast things rapidly accelerate from there, bro, this shit is coming. And if you just take like a Nintendo games console, right? Nintendo games console that came out in 1987? I think the first Nintendo Entertainment System. How long ago was that? 30 years ago. Nintendo Entertainment System, right? Little 8-bit Donkey Kong in fucking, 8-bit color jumping up and down on a black background. Then go and take, Valve's Index VR headset and play Half-Life Alyx. You look at that exponential technological growth in 30 years. What does Half-Life Alyx and VR technology look like in another 30 years? If you've ever been in a Tesla, what does an electric vehicle look like in another 30 years? Do you know what I mean? You look at the technology we've got with Alexa right now. I don't know if you've got an Alexa. If you don't, go buy one. You'll see what I mean. What does Alexa look like in 30 years? What does, and what technological advancements do we see? In the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, that rapidly accelerates technological growth that we can't even think about yet because we don't know what discoveries and creations are going to come along the way. You think about it, look at the mobile phone, right? You look at the technological growth of mobile phones where you had the huge fucking brick phones in the 80s, and then you had this slow growth in mobile phones where they slowly got better and better and better over a period of 20 years, where you had like Snake on the Nokia set, what was it, the Nokia, was it the set 402, 902, what was the first Nokia where they brought Snake in? But very slow technological growth, these big brick phones. And then the iPhone came out, fucking boom, to the point where now, the camera on an iPhone isn't that far away from the quality that you'll get on a massive digital SLR camera, which costs thousands of dollars. So you go from 20 years of this slow growth where you get to a point where a mobile phone can just about play a black and white, very, very basic game and send text messages and make calls. Those are the only 3 things it does. To now, your iPhone does pretty much everything you could ever want it to. You can live stream from it. You can FaceTime. You can use it as a calculator. You can play high definition video games. You can watch movies. It's a social media platform. It's a fucking productivity tool. It's practically a digital SLR camera. In what space of time? 10, 15 years? That's why you have to think, man. Moore's law, my friend. 50 years for this shit? Hell to the no. Hell to the no. We're going to get there way faster, man. Way faster. Yeah. I do think Yusuff is worth a bet, though, Nick, man. I really do. I do think he's looking good. We'll watch a little bit more footage, but I do think he is worth a bet. Nice one, Mark, dude. Nice one, Mark. David Hay is saying, what time do you usually sleep? Oh man, my sleep cycle's all over the place, dude. I've been super busy lately, so I'm finding it difficult to sleep at the moment. But hopefully once I catch up on all these website improvements, I'll be able to get back into a better sleep cycle, man. Aldo is mentioning quad carbon batteries. I haven't even heard of them, Aldo, man. I'm going to have to check them out, dude. Nice one, Aldo, dude. Nice one. Nice one. I'll check them out. I have been looking into solid state batteries, which I know are a game changer, but I hadn't heard of quad carbon ones, dude. Are they the same thing? Are they solid state batteries? Oh, nice one, double leg, dude. Exactly, Solar, dude. Yo, we're going to live twice as long when CRISPR solve all the issues that kill us. And then when we're 140 years old, our robots are gonna take care of us, right? Oh mate, I can't get into simulation theory. There's too many. I'm gonna piss a lot of people off if I get into that. Solar. People are here for the MMA, right? I can't go into simulation theory, but goddamn, I would love to. I would love to. I should just create videos where I just talk shit for hours about like robots and aliens and stuff. Go off on too many tangents, right? So apologies to anyone that's just here for MMA. Guar is saying that I seem a bit of a shambles and I seem a bit stressed out. I'm not stressed out. Do I come across as stressed out? I don't think I'm stressed out. I'm chilled as fuck. I'm ultra chilled. Very sorry if I look stressed out. I'm definitely I'm not feeling stressed, even though I might be looking stressed. So apologies if I do look stressed. I can assure you I am cool as a cucumber. Alright, let's get into this. Let's go. Jonathan Godoy saying Microsoft got a $22 billion contract with the government for augmented reality glasses. Sounds good, mate. Sounds good, man. Yeah, me too, Taz, man. But it does piss some people off. Gwaz is saying that I'm fucking... Gwaz pissed off on Twitch saying I sound like a crazy person, and he doesn't trust me anymore because I talk about aliens too much. So it does piss people off, man. Let's get back to the MMA. Let's go. All right, we're on round 3 of Allen and Lentz. Let's get going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. To Gua's point, though, I will say this. I do think one of the reasons why there is so much opportunity at the moment is because of people like Gua. This is not a dig. This is just genuinely how I feel. I'm reading a book at the moment called One Up on Wall Street. And one of the big parts of the book is where the author, who is a manager of a big index fund, he basically says that one of the reasons why there's so much opportunity in the stock market, investing in industries we've spoken about tonight, is because the average person that doesn't care about this shit is so slow to catch on. You know what I mean? Like, even if you just look at Ripple, right? I'm not a fan of Ripple. However, people that were smart enough to buy Ripple 5 or 6 years ago have made absolute bank, right? Because they were smart enough and they had the vision to see what Ripple could achieve in the future when most people were just wandering around, didn't even care that You know, the SWIFT banking system was slow, expensive, you know, open, quite vulnerable to fraud as well. You know, they didn't think that, you know what, the international banking system's really shit, and that a new technology like Ripple can come along and just fix it. Maybe it'd be a good idea for me to buy a few $100s of this, and now they would have got, you know, you bought Ripple 6-7 years ago, you 100 extra money easily, right? You know, so in this book I'm reading at the moment, it is interesting. Some people just do not care about this shit. They don't think about this future or the future. Like, you look at how many people don't have pensions, they don't have savings, they're not planning for the future. Which means if you do think about these things, if you do plan for these things, there's so much opportunity, man. Just because those NPCs that just every day just fucking walk around and they let life happen to them, they're not thinking, you know, 30 years into the future when we run out of fossil fuels. They're not thinking, you know, do you not think the 5-10 years before fossil fuels start to run out, governments are going to start to get a little bit twitchy, you know, and you know, maybe you'll see some conflict in the world, you know what I mean, where countries start to, you know, run into problems, scrapping, fighting over, you know, the last little bits of fossil fuels. Or, you know, in this more civilized world, will governments preempt that problem long in advance and, you know, start to move away from fossil fuels well in advance so that we have no dependency on them by 2055, wherever it is projected they're going to run out? You know, will we already be completely, you know, sufficient of renewable energy? You know, it's things like this, it's problems like this you think about, right, that most people don't think about. So then if you think about these problems, you think about potential solutions, you can move your money into, you know, these potential solutions and hopefully benefit from it. But the average person does not think a year into the future, let alone 30 years into the future. Can you imagine, right, if fossil fuels do really run out in 2055, like some people project? What do you think the global geopolitical landscape is going to look like in 2040? You know, if there's tensions between the US and China, US and Russia now, what the fuck do you think that's going to look like when there's only 10 years worth of oil left in the world? Do you know what I mean? It's interesting to think about, man. I am really interested in it. So yeah, I do think there's a lot of opportunity if you are a geek and you find this stuff interesting, which I do. So, what I have noticed about this fight is, we were saying when we watched Sodiq Yusuff's only major weakness that we saw was that he was really reckless, right? But what we have seen here is, for the most part, Nick Lentz has been able to come forward, walk Allen down, get in his face, and walk through everything that Allen's thrown at him. Allen hasn't really been able to hurt him. So you can kind of see, right, Allen hasn't knocked anyone out. He hasn't stopped anyone since he's been in the UFC since 2015. Lentz has never really been in any trouble in this fight. He's taken a lot of damage. He's wearing a lot of damage on his face, but he hasn't really been in much trouble. And so the probability of Allen hurting Yusuff, I think, is quite low. Because even though we have seen Yusuff dinged multiple times in the UFC, we know he's tough as nails, he's got a good chin, and when he does get hurt, he's very good at recovering. We saw him get wobbled by Philly, wobbled by Gabriel Benitez. He was in an absolute war with Mike Davis, and none of those guys were able to put him away. You know what I'm saying? Oh, nice one, Cowboy, for dropping knowledge, dude. Nice one, mate. I need to make a note of this. I'm going to Google these later on, man. As well as what Aldo suggested, the quad carbon batteries. I will look into these later on. I have been looking into solid state batteries lately. I'm not sure if these are the same thing, but nice one, guys. I will look into those later on. And then anything else you guys think I should be looking into, please let me know, man. Please let me know. Nice one, nice one, nice one. Alright, guys, let's get into what fight should we watch next. I do think, based on what I've seen, Yusuff is a good bet here. I'm not sure if I even need to see much more footage on this. Like I say, I think we've watched 2 fights, and I feel like we've seen a really good amount of footage on both guys. Probably don't really feel like it's going to be that useful to watch much more footage on Allen. Feel like we saw a bit of everything he brings to the table there. Against Lens. Maybe watch one more. Let's watch the Shayman Moraes fight, and we can get through the Gabriel Benitez fight really quickly as well. But I feel like I saw all I needed to see from Allen there, if I'm honest. We saw a bit of everything. So sync up this next one for me. Sync it up, guys, and we'll get into... sync it up, guys. Sync it up. Sync it up. We'll get into Gabriel Benitez against Sodiq Yusuff. And then we'll probably watch Shayman Moraes, Sodiq Yusuff, and then I'll be done on this. Although I do think Sodiq is looking like a pretty good bet here. Double leg. I can't really talk too much about Robin Hood. They don't accept. They basically don't exist in the UK. So yeah, I'm not able to use Robin Hood myself, mate. We have different platforms here in the UK. So anyway, sync up this first round for me, guys. Sync it up. And let's see how Yusuff looks against Benitez. I know that against Benitez he was a lot more aggressive, right? Came forward with a pressure fighting style. So it'll be interesting to see how this fight starts to look when we visualize how that pressure fighting style may do against Allen. But from what I've seen so far in this session, I think Yusuff at around even money is going to be a decent bet, to be fair. So sync up round 1, which starts at 1 minute 31. Vardis is saying, I think Sodiq has a high chance of cracking him with counters. I agree, dude, for sure. I agree, man. I agree, mate. I do agree. Alex Picciano is saying, I did some fight research on this. I think Allen has better striking defense than Yusuff. Man, I could not agree with you anymore. I think Yusuff's striking defense is significantly better than Allen's, dude. Yusuff uses really good head movement to slip shots, whereas Allen is a stationary target that just doesn't see the shots come in. I do think that I feel quite strongly that Yusuff's striking defense is a lot better, man. Anon, have you covered Sam Alvey fight yet? Yes, dude. I researched that a couple days ago. I'm not going to be betting that one myself, mate. Jax, no, we haven't researched the Jack Shaw fight yet. I'll do that in the next couple days. And KCOH is saying that this Benitez fight will make me want to bet Yusuff more. That is good news. I hope so, man. I hope so. Right now I am liking him quite a bit. Alright. Let's get this next one going. Yeah, I agree, double leg for sure, man. I agree, mate. I think that's a big difference for me with how low Allen carries his left hand. I think he's going to be wide open to Yusuff's power counters. But anyway, let's get into this next one. Sync it up, get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And I don't know. I'm not even sure if there's much point in watching the Shayman Moraes fight. You see Yusuff throwing that. So what's interesting here is obviously Arnold Allen is a southpaw. And so is Gabriel Benitez. So here, we're going to see how Yusuff looks against a southpaw. Remember what we were saying. Allen fights with his left hand low, which means he's going to be susceptible to that power right hand of Yusuff. Now, Benitez is keeping that left hand up high and looking to circle away from Yusuff, whereas Allen, much more flat-footed, likes to stand right in front of his opponent. Gabriel Benitez is circling into the power right hand of Yusuff, though. what is interesting is Allen doesn't have too much power in his hands, right? So whether he's going to be able to stop Allen from coming forward, I'm not so sure. And he hasn't shown us the footwork to be able to circle away from Yusuff like Gabriel Benitez is right now. So remember what we saw in the Philly fight, where Yusuff puts pressure on his opponent, chips away at them with a jab to try and bait them into leading with a power strike, and then he looks to slip the power strike and counter. Let's see if he does that again. You see, he's coming forward with a lot of pressure, but aside from the jab, he's not leading with power strikes. He's waiting for Benitez to go first. See it there? Benitez lets the left hand go, and Yusuff just slips it. He doesn't fire back with the right hand there, but we're only 2 minutes into the fight. He's still finding his range, right? It's a lot harder for Yusuff to land the jab here against Benitez than it was against Philly, because obviously Benitez is circling away from him and maintaining quite a big distance between him and Yusuff for the most part. Fast hands there from Benitez. Flash knockdown. Very nice. Yusuff definitely there to be hit, but so's Allen. The difference is Yusuff hits a lot harder, right? But you can see the footwork and movement of Benitez is frustrating Yusuff. I think Yusuff's going to do a lot better against someone like Allen that's more likely to just stand right in front of him. How do you guys feel about this fight so far? I didn't think I would actually like Yusuff as much as I do, but I do think he's worth a bet. See, there is more of what I like from Yusuff. We saw a lot of that from him in the fight against Philly, right? Benitez loads up on a big power left hand. Not as keen to circle away from Yusuff now that he's actually dropped him. Ducks under that power right hand. Or Yusuff ducks under the power left hand of Benitez and fires back with a big counter. I do like Yusuff's counter-striking style, just because Allen is more of a stationary target. He doesn't move his head much, and he doesn't read his opponent very well. Yusuff is very good at reading his opponent. I know he does get caught. I know he's there to be hit, but he's a lot better at reading his opponent than Allen is. Yusuff's trying to react to what Benitez is doing and counter. Oh, look at that. Exactly the same thing, right? Exactly what we were talking about. Exactly what we were talking about. Once Yusuff starts to find his range, he just looks to use that head movement to catch his opponent with big counters. And what you noticed there was really interesting. Early on in the fight, when Benitez really respected Yusuff's power, Yusuff struggled because Benitez was circling away. Every time Yusuff came forward to try and land on Benitez, he would just circle away, and it was difficult for Yusuff to get into a range where he could land. But after Benitez dropped Yusuff with that jab, you saw Benitez get a lot more confident, and so he started to stand in front of Yusuff more and attack Yusuff. And that was when you saw the finish come, because as soon as Benitez started opening up and attacking Yusuff, Yusuff tried to use his speed, head movement to slip Benitez's power strikes and fire back with big counters, and that's exactly how the finish came. Arnold Allen's not a counter striker, right? And look at that. Big power right hand from the orthodox stance to punish a reckless southpaw that overcommits with a power left hand. I do think this is a good stylistic matchup for Allen. No, for Yusuff. Good stylistic matchup for Yusuff. Slip of the tongue. Perfect stylistic matchup. Perfect stylistic matchup for Yusuff. Very, very good. What's up, Kuri Ninja, mate? What do I think about the cardio of Yusuff? I think his cardio is good, man, especially for someone with his body type. He definitely slows down as the fight goes on, but what we've seen from Yusuff in the fights where he did slow down in the third round against Philly and Mike Davis is that he's still somewhat effective when he gets tired. So, for example, even though he looked a lot flatter in the third round against Philly, his hand speed was still very fast, still had a lot of power in his hands and still looked quite sharp. Luke Peterson saying that Allen's got good leg kicks. Didn't see many of them against Nick Lentz, to be fair. Alex Picciano is saying, I feel like you hit the nail on the head a couple of weeks ago with Dan Ige with his power. Yusuff has that same kind of power. Yeah, you're right, dude. Big power. But I think the difference with those two is Ige has that big power, right? Whereas I think a big part of what makes Yusuff dangerous is his speed. You know, they say the shots that hurt you are the ones you don't see coming. And because Yusuff is so fast with his counters, that's what makes him dangerous. Like you saw there, Benitez attacked him with the left hand. Didn't even see the right hand counter coming, right? Just caught him completely cold. Just had no idea it was coming. It's that speed from Yusuff that causes guys trouble. Alex Picciano just saying that Allen's calf kicks won't be as effective southpaw versus orthodox. A good point, man. And remember what they say: the best counter to a leg kick is a punch in the face. Do you know what I mean? When Allen gets into that range to let the leg kick go, which to be fair we didn't see much of against Nick Lentz, but if he did, you know, he's going to be wide open for that power right hander Yusuff. No, sorry, Allen fought southpaw for most of the Lentz fight. Sorry, Aldo. Yusuff is orthodox stance fighter. Alright, I think that we are pretty much done on this one, guys. Watched a decent amount of footage on both these guys. I do like what I see. Do you know what? I will watch one more. I will watch the Shaman Moraes fight just because Yusuff did slow down in that third round against Philly. So I would just like to see how Yusuff looks in this third round against Moraes. So I will watch this, but based on what I've seen, I do think the Yusuff is going to be a pretty good bet here. Oh, nice one, Solar Cowboy dude. Thanks for stopping by, mate. Speak to you soon, dude. Take care, mate. Nice one, Cowboy dude. I think that this link... Is this link wrong? Does this link even work? Shall I check? Yeah, this link doesn't work. I will find you the working link now. Give me 2 seconds. Here we go. Alright, sync this one up for me, boys. Nice one, JB, mate. Sync up this next one, guys. Sync it up. So let's get into it, man. Alright, let's go. Let's go. Let's go, guys. Let's go. Sync up round 1 for me. So, just mainly looking at Yusuff's gas tank in this fight. So this fight starts at about 2 minutes and 3 seconds. That's 2 minutes and 3 seconds. Sync it up. 2 minutes and 3 seconds. So interesting. So Oliver Morris is saying that Yusuff drops Moraes in the third round, which would mean, you know, Yusuff does slow down, right? Bout Better is saying Yusuff does slow down. He's right. Bout Better is right. But we did see Yusuff still quite effective in round 3 against Philly. Effective in round 3 against Mike Davis on the Contender Series, and Oliver Morris is saying that, you know, Yusuff scored the third round knockdown. On top of that, people talking about Allen's leg kicks. Remember, one of the biggest weapons the Yusuff used against Mike Davis on the Contender Series was leg kicks. He buckled Davis's leg, a few times. One of the reasons why Yusuff had so much success in this fight is because he punished the lead leg of Davis so much. He forced Davis to switch stances. So even though we haven't seen a lot of Yusuff's leg kicks in his last two, Yusuff also has leg kicks in his back pocket. And of course, Yusuff is a hell of a lot more powerful, right? You think he could inflict a lot more damage with how explosive he is compared to Arnold Allen, more of a volume striker. So, let's get this next one going. Shayman Moraes against Sodiq Yusuff. Let's sync it up, get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Then after this fight, probably call it a night then, boys. I'll be back tomorrow with some more fight research. Got some updates to do on the website. And then we'll be back tomorrow with some more research. Got 3 fights done today though, 3 big ones as well. So not too bad. Did some pretty good work today. And then we'll do another marathon session tomorrow. So probably won't be researching on YouTube tomorrow just because their copyright algorithm is strict as fuck. So whenever we want to watch fights from outside the UFC for guys like Kizriev and Dorcas, to be fair, we'll probably want to watch a bit of footage on Dorcas from before he came into the UFC. The YouTube copyright algorithm doesn't let us just because of how aggressive it is. So we'll be researching on Twitch and my website tomorrow for anyone who wants to come back for some more fight research. There's a link for my Twitch channel in the description below, or you could just go to my website and community fight research live streams. I'll be live streaming on there tomorrow. See, we're seeing Yusuff get to the leg kicks here early on. Just something we didn't really see in his fight against Philly. Perhaps it was because of the length. Yeah, Yusuff's getting the leg kicks going now. We do know that Allen does stand very heavy on the lead leg. So a much more patient start here from Yusuff. We saw him come out very aggressive against Philly and Benitez, but here he's just trying to fight Moraes in this kickboxing range, right? Which is where I'd like to see him fight Allen, because I think he's so much faster than Allen. He would have a lot more success just staying in the middle of the octagon, waiting for Allen to open up and then countering, rather than him, getting aggressive like he did against Benitez and Philly and risk walking onto something crazy. Because to be fair, he did get wobbled against Benitez and Philly, immediately recovered in both fights, but he is there to be hit, even though Allen doesn't look too dangerous. So I do like this patient approach from Yusuff, staying behind the high boxing guard and again, just waiting for Moraes to open up so he can counter him with a big right hand. You also notice that when his opponent leads with a jab, Yusuff always tries to beat them to the jab. Almost like he's trying to catch him off balance when they're coming forward. I actually think this style that we're seeing from Yusuff here, this slower, more tactical style, it would be more effective, I think, than the pressure fighting style we've seen. Just because I worry Allen is the kind of guy that will stand his ground, bite down on his mouthpiece, and fire back. And with that type of situation, you can always walk onto something crazy. We know Yusuff is there to be hit. Double Egg is saying, how does Allen win this? I'd say by split decision off volume, maybe. Flash KO. Yeah, Flash KO is possible, man. Like, Yusuff's definitely reckless, but with them both being in that even money odds range, what's Yusuff? He's about 1.72, right? I think in that even money odds range, Yusuff's definitely worth a bet. Just because it's unlikely Allen's going to be able to out-grapple Yusuff. And I just don't really see Allen being able to outstrike Yusuff without taking big damage because of how easy Allen is to hit. Like we saw Lensting Allen, a good amount of times, right? Whole different ball game by by getting caught with big power shots from Yusuff, So anyway, sync up round 2. We're probably going to wrap this session up after we're done with this fight, boys. And then that'll be it for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Alex Picano's just talking about the leg kicks from Yusuff. Yeah, he's actually spinning Shayman Moraes around and doing big damage with his leg kicks, right? Yusuff trains at a gym called Team Lloyd Irvin. Lloyd Irvin's been a long-time coach in the UFC, but there aren't too many notable UFC fighters that train there, as far as I know. So not the best gym, but Yusuff's pretty good everywhere, right? So Lloyd Irvin can't be that bad of a trainer. Lloyd Irvin's been buzzing around the UFC for a long time. Alright, let's get this second round going. Sync it up, get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So what's super interesting tonight is we've researched 3 fights and we've got a bit of action on all of them, right? Which is quite a nice way to spend a Tuesday night. So many of these long research sessions are fights where there's really no strong positions and not that interesting for betting and we have to pass, but we've done 3 really interesting fights tonight. I don't like how Yusuff relies on his chin a little bit too much, but I'm not sure Allen's the guy to make him pay for it. Yusuff definitely one of those guys though that's so reckless. You never want to go too big on him because he will bet on his chin against his opponents. He likes to get into firefights, right, and play Rock'em Sock'em Robots, which isn't a good quality to have in cage fighting. Would like it if he fought a little bit safer. No, it is not a concern at all, Double Leg Man. I think that Yusuff is a really, really well-rounded fighter, reasonably skilled everywhere. I'd much rather Yusuff be trained by a guy like Lloyd Irvin that's clearly trained him to a really good standard in all areas of MMA than, a fighter to come out of these big super gyms like Fortis MMA or Extreme Couture where the fighters never really seem to improve. Yusuff is young. He's very good everywhere for how old he is. Like, Irvin's got to be doing something right, you know what I mean? And we were talking about this with the Mackenzie Dern versus Nina Ansaroff fight, right? Where we were saying the problem with Ansarov's style is that she doesn't really, because she's a volume striker, she doesn't really have those big moments where, you know, she'll leave a lasting impression on the judges and put her stamp on a round. She doesn't really have that. I feel Allen may struggle from the same problem here where, you know, he may land, you know, 2-3 strike combination on Yusuff that doesn't really do much damage, but then Yusuff can just negate that with one big power shot that, you know, backs Allen up and gets a reaction from people in the arena, right? So anyway, guys, as we wrap this one up, let me know how you feel about this. If you're going to be betting this fight, let me know. I'm going to be betting Yusuff small, nothing major, but I do think he is worth a bet. Let me know what you think. We'll wrap this session up after this fight. But let me know, guys. Quite nice to dig up a bet on this one. I wasn't expecting to. But Allen's striking defense, like Brett called it very early on, right? Allen's striking defense was a lot worse than I thought. I think the speed of Yusuff is going to give him a lot of trouble. You know, when you look at the styles of both guys, they're both predominantly strikers. And for me, there's no doubt that Yusuff is the better striker. So in that even money territory, this is an absolute no-brainer to bet Yusuff. Nice one, JB, mate. I'm going to do the same, JB. I'm going to do the same, mate. Nice one, double leg. Let me know as well, guys, what Brett's going to bet 2 units on Yusuff as well. Brett, you like Yusuff even before the session, though, right? Brett bet Yusuff way before we did. Brett researched this one himself. And what Brett said was true, man. Brett called it out right from the beginning. Allen's sketchy defensively. When you're getting caught cold by a guy like Nick Lentz, that's a bad sign. That's a real bad sign. Real bad. Alright, guys, let's sync up round 3. Starts at 14 minutes and 30 seconds. Tomorrow, when we come back tomorrow, we'll try and finish off this main card. I can't wait to research this one, just because, you know, both guys are, you know, I know Perry hasn't performed well lately, but both guys pretty exciting strikers. They've got a common opponent in Tim Means. It's a shame that Means hasn't got a fight scheduled anytime soon, or we could have researched him at the same time. But don't know anything about Kizriev. We'll check this one out. Oh, he's beaten Ruzumar Palhares. How old is Palhares these days? He's got to be 40 odd, right? At 41. Toquinho. Yeah, we'll finish his main card off tomorrow. What's this Erin Blanchfield all about? I hear people talking about Blanchfield as being a potential dog bet. I've never seen her fight. I don't know anything about her. So looking forward to getting into Blanchfield. What are we saying about this girl? Is she any good, guys? Norma Demont's pretty good though, right? Here she is with Caitlin Chukagian, Liana Jojua. She any good? Norma Demont looked pretty good in her last fight though, right? And Blanchfield stepping up on about a week's notice. Spiz going 1 unit. Yusuff sounds good, Spiz, mate. Flamox is going for a Yusuff and Vittori parlay. And more money on Dern. Sounds good, dude. Alright, guys. Let's get this third round going. Sync it up. Get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. She beat Kay Hansen. Shit. How long ago? It was a while ago, right? Shit, she's only 21 years old. Fucking hell. So she would have fought... So she would have made her pro debut at 18 years old. That is fucking bonkers. 18 or 19, right? That's still crazy. 5'4", 68 inch reach. JB saying the size is an issue. Oh yeah, man. That's not good. That's not good, especially in women's MMA. Although, to be fair, it's not major. 68 inch reach, 5'4". Demont, 67 inch reach, 5'7". We'll see, we'll see, we'll see. Might be an issue. We'll see, right? Interested to research that one. I love me some women's MMA, man. Women's MMA is that cash cow, right, boys? Be interested if Mackenzie can come through for us now this weekend. Biggest surprise for me tonight. Do you know what? We spent a lot of time on these 3 fights tonight, and there weren't any surprises really. All the footage we watched was pretty much what we expected to see. The only surprise was Allen's striking defense, and Hiltzy called it early, and so did Brett. I'm really surprised by how bad Allen's striking defense is. No wonder a lot of his fights have gone to the ground. And I would expect to see that this weekend for sure. I think as soon as Allen feels Yusuff's power and speed, I think he's going to be looking to get this fight to the ground. But Allen's offensive wrestling hasn't looked great. You see it there, right? I love it. You see it there. Moraes comes forward with the right hand. Yusuff sees it coming from a mile away. Left hand up high. Just fires back with that big power right. I think Yusuff's going to give Allen hell. I love it. 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 Mayday is saying, do you think Allen can? Do you think Yusuff can get a finish? I do, mate. I do. Obviously, Allen. I don't think Allen's ever been finished. He hasn't. But then he hasn't fought anyone as dangerous as Yusuff standing. Yeah, Allen hasn't really fought many guys that can exploit his bad defense. Obviously, Gilbert Burns was a shadow of himself by the time they fought. So I don't think Allen's really faced anyone that can make him pay. And you know, one of the big things that we were watching in this fight was Yusuff's gas tank. He looks sharp here in round 3. Yusuff looks just fine here in round 3 to me. Still moving well, light on his feet. Hand speed looks good. All of the usual red flags you'd see from someone that was slowing down, none of them exist here with Yusuff. He's not breathing heavy. He's not flat-footed. His hand speed hasn't dropped. You know, he's not shaking his arms out. He's still got his hands up high behind that high boxing guard. You know, nothing wrong with Yusuff's gas tank here, in my opinion. He looked great. So that was kind of like the one last thing I wanted to see. And again, Moraes attacks Yusuff with a power right hand. Yusuff slips the power right hand, drops him with a counter right. I love it. I love it. Yusuff, I'm happy with Yusuff this weekend for sure. I'm really happy with Yusuff. Nice one, Shola. Nice one, dude. Nice one, Shola, mate. Thanks, Shola. Mtez is saying training with Liana Jojua and Caitlin Chukagian. Big red flag. Fade Blanchfield. That's quite funny. Cold-blooded but true. Aldo is saying she's tremendously undersized. Interesting. Taylor the tape didn't look like a major size difference. But maybe better to wait for the weigh-ins, right? Theon, I like the new Venom fight gear. Actually, I do like it. I like it. I like the Venom stuff. A lot more subtle. Yeah, I quite like Yusuff's cardio, man. Looks alright. Anyway, we're done for tonight. Thank you everyone for watching. Really appreciate it. Take care. We'll be back tomorrow with some more fight research. Going to be smashing through this fight tomorrow. I really want to get into... See, there's not many names jumping out at me as potential bets, though. But then I didn't expect to find a bet on this fight, and we dug one up. Wow, Yusuff's odds are improving. What kind of witchcraft is this? Are you serious? I could have sworn the Yusuff was down... I could have sworn Yusuff's odds were worse than this when we started the stream. So Yusuff's odds look like they might be improving a little bit. So yeah, not many names jumping out at me on the remaining fights. There's not a lot I like. Someone earlier on was saying Saldana could be worth a look. I think Joey McBride was saying Bahamondes could be worth a look, but I don't know anything about those two fighters. Kazangane too big of a favourite. Castro too big of a favourite. Vittori too big of a favourite. Damont too big of a favourite. So yeah, anyway, nice one for watching, everyone. Take care. Love you guys. Have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great night, guys. See you tomorrow. Take care.